Do you think Gary is right? Gary Neville accused Todd Boehly, the new owner of Chelsea, of looking like he wants to play Football Manager. Gary says Chelsea are almost bouncing around because it feels like Boehly has to do something. I'm hearing his name too much. It's not to be disrespectful. He's a prominent guy. He's fronted a fund that's paid £2.5 billion.
Yep.
But to get rid of all that football operation has been unbelievable. But it does feel like Ed Woodward to me. We'll see how it develops.
Well, look, first and foremost, you know, Todd Boehly's walked into a room and he's not looking to dismantle Chelsea. He's looking to increase the opportunity as a result of somebody paying £2.5 billion for a football club that nobody in the history of football has got anywhere near spending that kind of dough. Now, of course, one needs to ask, whose money is it? Because it's private equity money, and what returns do they want? But to suggest that people got... I mean, Mourinho was measuring up Roman Abramovich's desk 15 years ago, and of course she's now been built up to mythical heights of being this wonderful transfer negotiator.
Yeah.
Every club that buys and sells players has somebody that's at the front of doing it. Monchi at Seville, the guy that was at Leicester that was responsible for ultimately the recruitment of Leicester's team that won the Premier League, the guy that went to Everton, Marcel Brands. On one hand, when it suits the football world to say, that's a football person, he's a football person. That disingenuous one over there that never tells the truth, that's a football person, so we recognise him. Because Todd Boehly's a newcomer, Gary's sort of taking him down, saying, you're a busy sod. Well, if he wasn't busy, right, and they weren't doing anything, and he wasn't getting his hands dirty, and he wasn't involving himself, then the other argument would be being advanced by the Garys of the world, saying, well, what's he doing then? Why isn't he investing in time and learning and understanding the culture of the business? Peter Cech and Marina and Bruce Buck's sell-by date had long time gone. And he was in a situation where possibly you don't have somebody like Todd Boehly coming in to run a business and have the guy that used to run it for you still there.
You always mention Bruce Buck. I think there's something personal with you and Bruce. Well, yeah, I know, but he doesn't like you.
That's fine. I would hate to think that there was a miscommunication, that I really liked him and he disliked me and the other way around. But the bottom line is that Todd Boehly is buying players, and you would expect him to buy players. He's picking up the reins of something that people said 3 months ago. The narrative was Chelsea's in crisis. It's got no money. Clearly, they're not going to spend any more money. The regime's going to change. No one's going to be as ambitious as Roman Abramovich is. Roll forward. In comes the guy that's ambitious. Out comes Gary Neville saying, "Oh, he's too busy." You can't win.
Last night, Simon, it was being reported again by various news outlets that it was done, that it was all agreed between Chelsea and between Brighton. A £50 million fee for Marc Cucurella, the fullback of Brighton. Not true, said Brighton. In fact, to underline that fact, they took the unprecedented step of putting a statement out on Twitter themselves, and it said this, not much to it, but it certainly got the message over. Contrary to inaccurate reports from numerous media outlets this evening, no agreement has been reached with any club to sell Marc Cucurella. What do you think of what Brighton did there, Simon? Their stance there?
Well, I can understand why they've done it, because they probably object to the fact that things are being put forward in a fashion that they're not currently at. But these are moments in time. We're talking about a debate about the chronological order of events when things will actually happen. So probably what we'll see is the boy will go, but he isn't just gone just yet. And obviously, I would suspect people that are associated with the mechanics of this deal trying to make it happen and maybe trying to lever somewhere where the boy may prefer to go into price brackets. You know, Man City have told you that they're not going to spend more than 40 million quid. So out of the ether comes Chelsea. They're everyone's favourite narrative at this moment in time. And our mate Gary Neville's had a tee shot at them, hasn't he, about how busy they are. Because once upon a time, everyone used China and the Chinese league to leverage player transfers up. Now, because there's a new kid on the block, people are suddenly saying, I'll tell you what we'll use a spectre of Todd Boehly and Chelsea and how much money they've got and how desperate they are to build a team to leverage transfers up.
Did you experience anything?
No, I saw
similar?
certain things like this slightly different. I saw David Sullivan and his little crew running around making apparent offers to buy Andrew Johnson back in the day and telling the newspapers that they'd bid for Andrew Johnson. Now, I said at the time, I don't know what they've sent it by, a carrier pigeon, a blind carrier pigeon, because it's never arrived, because at no circumstances have they ever made a bid. And even if they did, I wouldn't have sold them to him. But the point is that the media is used at certain times by both ends of the equation, the buying club and the selling club. It's interesting that Brighton want to cut through this and say, no, that's not what's happened.
Right.
But the reason behind that isn't just lazy journalism and people creating sensational news. Someone's feeding a narrative to drive this transfer up to a certain level, which might be trying to leverage Man City into paying the price because the player might have expressed a preference to go to Man City.
Well, let me tell you, Simon, Brighton were incensed last night, and it's my understanding this morning they are still incensed by what went on last night.
They probably shouldn't be. The boy's going to go. He's going to be sold.
He's going to go eventually.
Right, so the bottom line is the more this transfer is talked up, the better it is for Brighton, because they're going to get more dough.
I agree, Simon, but until he goes, he's still Brighton's player. So there's validity in them defending
and that's
their own
right.
stance.
But the tragedy of it is the player's already sort of gone off the reservation and sent a little email in saying, I'd like to put a transfer request in. So he's already disassociated himself from the underpinning loyalty that he should have had, which is, okay, chairman, chief executive, privately I would like to go. I'm going to suggest that you handle this properly and don't price me out of the marketplace, but I'll sit back in my box and wait for that to happen.
Sure, but you always have a swipe at lazy journalism, and I think this is what Brighton felt it was, because my understanding this morning is Brighton feel that a deal was being reported as breaking news, that it was done, that it was fact by major outlets, and that was complete nonsense. And Brighton's feeling this morning is, and I'm sure you'd support them in this, that they won't allow such tactics to push them into a corner.
Well, the tactics that are predominantly being deployed against Brighton are the tactics that their own player is doing. Their player signed a 5-year contract. He's got 4 years to go. He's bought for 15 million quid. He was as happy as a sandboy at the end of the season, scoring a wonderful goal against Manchester United. And here we are now. Someone has come along, and Trevor Sinclair made a valid argument, which if an opportunity comes to improve yourself with the biggest clubs in the world, you are going to have your head turned. Yeah. He's had more than his head turned. He's levering the people that have given him the opportunity.
But what do you think Brighton are meaning by tactics?
Well, I suspect it's designed to bring as I said to you earlier on.
You think Chelsea leaked the story?
I think Chelsea. Well, I don't think Chelsea leaked the story. I think the agent leaked the story because I think what's happened, if I'm surmising and reading between the lines, which is what we can do here because none of us are in the room, is suggest the boy wants to go to Man City. And Man City have said we're not going to go to anything above 50 million quid. So up comes this spectre of Chelsea, and then comes the underlying narrative with people like Neville saying, I wish Todd Boehly would stop running around like a busy person in busy land, trying to buy everybody that exists. And there's the narrative being built up. But back in the day when Diego Costa was going to leave Chelsea to go to China, everyone was using China to get players' wages up. If we don't go here, you go to China. Oscar's gone to China, he gets 200 grand a week. This player will go to China. And now what they're doing is they're spinning Chelsea into that sort of position of saying, if you won't pay the 50 million quid, that Brighton want, and it's their player, so they're right to want it, then what we'll do is we'll spin up this mythical, purported, potential interest from Chelsea, and then we'll look like the deal's closing and see if we can bring Man City back to the table for the player they clearly preferred in the first place.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.